Welcome to The Point. I'm Neil Stanley, and this is episode 11, where we're going to talk about the FI Navigator. FI Navigator is a relationship that we have developed recently that serves banks and credit unions. We find that it has many reporting sections that you might find valuable as a financial institution. There's profit growth and risk, which we've come to expect when we look at call report and peer data. That's available to us. But in addition, there is a unique offering of being able to compile the list of services that a financial institution is likely offering and showing how that compares against the peer group. We'll look at the strategic focus of each financial institution, deposit market share, vendors that are utilized. Another very unique attribute of the system is to be able to identify the likely providers of the services that are being used by each financial institution. And then lastly, a tracking of merger history. So we want to jump right into it. We're going to explore today a particular FI Navigator report. You would have received your FI Navigator report, and by using this redacted one, I'm hoping to be able to point out some of the features in these very interesting reports. So the first page is going to just identify some typical parameters. This one's redacted, so yours will have the bank name, it'll have the website and so forth used for your organization. Then as you go down through the pages, you'll find that there are three sections for profit, growth, and risk. The first group is identified as a peer group by asset size. And so it will identify various parameters, including the strategic focus, which I'll talk about a little bit later, and the offerings that they identify that are in both retail and business for your functionality. So as you see this is the profit section. There will be listed a primary theme. There are 15 different primary themes that could be identified, and the primary theme is associated with the highlighted strengths and weaknesses. What they're doing is they're looking compared to the peer group, and this algorithm is finding those things that have the biggest performance exception relative to the peer group, identifying it, and then showing as a percentage of the financial potential impact to get to peer what percentage that is of the total out of all 15 potential primary themes. For this particular example, the loan pricing represents 20% of the financial performance enhancement if they could get to peer with that particular area. So as I said, these are highlighted, both strengths and weaknesses, and other strengths and weaknesses associated with the organization are also in this report here. Then when you go on down to the next page, you will see some ideas about strategies that could be used to impact the particular primary theme that's noted as being most needed or with the most potential for opportunity. So you can see some of the ideas that would be initiated for a strategic session to look at for the opportunity and actions that might be associated with that. As you go on down, we're going to switch over to a different peer group, still looking at profitability, but now we're looking at the strategic focus peer group, which is based upon lending, deposits, and off-balance sheet activity. We'll talk about that in just a moment when we look at the strategic emphasis section. But the same approach that we saw earlier with having a primary theme is identified, and the performance exceptions that are related to that. And then here it gives you a trend analysis. The darker line is the trend of the group, and the other line is the trend of the financial institution, the individual financial institution that this report is for. So you can see how it stacks up, this bank against the peer group that is being identified, and then how that peer group stacks up against the entire universe of financial institutions. I think this is very helpful information. There are two pages of profit analysis associated with each report for that strategic focus peer group. Then when we get to growth, we have another section based upon assets that is parallel to what I told you about with profit. So this is the second page of the asset-based peer group. And then you'll see a peer group based upon the strategic focus for growth that you can analyze. And then you'll see a new section, another section based upon risk by asset size and then by strategic focus. So we commend all of those to you. We think that it's going to give you some really good insights to see how you stack up and where your opportunities lie. Now, this part of their system really caught my eye, and it's one of the major reasons why I decided to try to get these reports out to you, and that is the offerings. So the offerings, they go through and they harvest data that's available on the internet. And as they pull this data, they will identify whether a particular topic is supplied or provided by the financial institution that the report is for. If it is, then it has a dot. That means they are providing, in this case, credit card lender activity. And over here, it tells you how many of the peers are doing the same thing. So for example, debit card issuance here, you can see that the bar is very long. Essentially, every financial institution in this peer group is providing debit card issuance, as is this particular financial institution. Then when we look down here to instant issuance, you can see that a minority of the peers are offering instant issuance debit card. And so therein lies an opportunity. So in all of these, you can look at the service, you can see how many of the peers are offering it, and whether it is identified by the system, by FI Navigator, as being provided by you. Now herein lies a great audit opportunity, because if in fact you are providing it, but it's not stated as such, that means that on the web it's hard to find. And so you can go to your client experience or marketing people and talk about how are we presenting this information, because we certainly don't want it to be hidden. Lots of sections in here, a couple pages worth of information for you. And then we get to the strategic focus section. And in this strategic focus section, you'll see lending, funding, and off-balance sheet. And they'll identify the makeup of each component, and that's how they group together that second set of peers, is based upon finding commonality with, in this case, financial institutions that have commercial lending with high non-maturing funding and high off-balance sheet activity, so that the peer analysis is most applicable for that situation. Another thing I really like about this tool is when it comes to market share, they look at deposits, but they include the NCUA information as well as the FDIC. So you can see the market share for your financial institution. We've redacted this so it doesn't have any FI names in there, but you would see all of the different financial institutions that you compete with in this report. The next thing that they have is actually, as they are scraping and pulling this information, there are various indicators and signs of various technical services, technological services that are offered. And so they can tell if a bank is using a particular core processor. So we can see in this case, this financial institution was identified as being associated with a Jack Henry Silver Lake core. So those reports are there to help you assess your opportunities for negotiating with cores, different options that you might want to consider. And then lastly, we identify your merger history as well. So we really appreciate the opportunity to show you and deliver to you a complimentary FI Navigator report. We hope also that you will meet with Julia, Laura, and myself to follow up on these and other ideas. We are honored to be able to provide service to you, and we look forward to all of your ideas, engaging additional ideas about to-the-point episodes as we go forward. Thank you so much.